This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What a fantastic day for Brewers baseball after nearly 2 years away. Brandon Woodruff making his triumphant return to the mound, and boy, did he ever deliver for your Milwaukee Brewers. 6 dominant innings, just 2 hits allowed. He had that 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, helping secure the Brewers' 3-1 win over the Marlins. They do take 2 out of 3 down there in Miami. And don't sleep on Jackson Chourio, who also at the plate for your Milwaukee Brewers. Don't want to overshadow him with the dominant performance from Brandon Woodruff, but Jackson Chourio with a 2-run homer in this one. He continues his hot streak at the plate for the Brewers. We'll discuss Brandon Woodruff's big comeback. We mentioned Jackson Chourio, just enough offense for your Milwaukee Brewers. All of it generated by Jackson Chourio, and the Brewers winning the series and sort of salvaging this road trip, a 500 finish, 3-3 between New York and Miami. Lots to discuss on the program. Your thoughts, your reactions, your comments welcomed as well. Hello, everyone, and welcome in to the Locked On Brewers POSTCAST. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snide, and you can listen to the Locked On Brewers podcast wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, all those terrific apps, as well as over on YouTube. Go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and we will discuss Brandon Woodruff making his return to your Milwaukee Brewers. I don't think it's going to be a spoiler alert if I put you on notice on the player of the game early in this one, as he just continued to dominate. And it was right off the top of the game for this one for Brandon Woodruff. 2 strikeouts in the first inning. Let's quickly get to your scoring summary today, brought to you by Monarch Money. We begin in the 3rd inning, and scoreless Edward Cabrera for the Miami Marlins dealing as well. Tip your cap off to Cabrera. He does take the loss for Miami, but he was fantastic today against the Brewer hitters. Again, only allowing 2 earned runs. But we begin in the 3rd inning, and without further ado, in a 3-1 win, that is going to be your turning point as the Brewers win this one 3-1 and take 2 out of 3 against the Marlins.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Christian Yelich legging out an infield single in this game, which would have ended the inning for your Milwaukee Brewers. However, manager Pat Murphy with a super incredible challenge decision there early in this game. It's a very, very early challenge. The Brewers typically don't like to challenge these things early in the game, but from the naked eye, it looked like Christian Yelich was safe. Upon further review, he was ruled safe at first base. He would eventually steal second base, and it wouldn't matter because a few pitches later, Jackson Chourio, 370 feet to left field, would give the Brewers a 2-run lead in this one, and this would be your turning point, a 2-run lead, and they would win by 2 in this one, 3-1. But it's more so because of what it gave Brandon Woodruff, I feel like, in my personal opinion, on the mound. I mean, he was absolutely dealing. I know he only had gone 2 innings in this one, but he was just absolutely fantastic early in this one. His control was on it. I know, the big talk was, well, the velocity is not where it needs to be. It didn't matter today. Big Woo had it. I mean, the control, the command, everything, for Brandon Woodruff was clicking. There was a blip, one mistake, and Brandon Woodruff knew it, in the moment. Roberto Hernandez in the 5th inning, he would go to left field 375 feet. That would be the only run surrendered by Brandon Woodruff. That would make it 2-1. Brewers still ahead. We would see some bullpen appearances from Grant Anderson. We would see Abner Uribe, who, by the way, I know a lot of you like to get on me because I always like to pump Abner Uribe as being one of the best relievers in baseball. He continues to lead the big leagues in holds. And today, the 1-inning pitch there, late in this one for your Milwaukee Brewers in the 8th inning, 7 whiffs from Abner Uribe. That is a career best in an inning for Abner Uribe. He was absolutely lights out. 2 strikeouts in that inning from Abner Uribe, and Trevor McGill securing the save for your Milwaukee Brewers, 2nd in the National League now with 20. Jackson Chourio would also have a sacrifice fly there in the 8th inning. So Jackson Chourio really, this road trip, we looked at this one as kind of being a little bit of a letdown, 3-3 against 2 teams that you would say you're noticeably better in. The Miami Marlins now 8 games under 500. The New York Mets, crawling their way out of their slump, but it was most of our opinions, it was a letdown series. But the Brewers able to salvage this one, take the series from the Marlins, and now return home to face the Dodgers in a very, very big series back at American Family Field. But the big thing for this one is you were able to win a game by just scratching enough runs across the plate. And Jackson Chourio today really has been, I would say, Sal Frelick has been really good. But over this stretch of this 6-game road trip for your Milwaukee Brewers, where they went 3-3, Jackson Chourio has been, absolutely on fire. And he's been a big reason why you were able to win those 3 games on the road. And today was no doubt about it. I mean, 3 RBIs for Jackson Chourio, and that the Brewers win 3-1. But it wasn't because of just Jackson Chourio. Let's get into your player of the game in a Milwaukee Brewers 3-1 win over the Marlins in Miami, as well as taking 2 out of 3 and returning home to face the Dodgers.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
683 days ago was the last time Brandon Woodruff was on the mound. To be exact, it was September 11th of 2023. So we're nearing 2 years for Brandon Woodruff on the mound. Major shoulder surgery, lots of setbacks in Nashville and Appleton, and having some freak injuries, getting hit by a line drive on the mound before he was set to come back to the Brewers a few weeks ago. An ankle injury. Just, it seemed like a guy that could never get back. And it always seemed like something, one another, whether it was his fault or not his fault or whatever you want to call it, just seemed to just get all the bad breaks over the last few months. And boy, did it feel good. We talked about how good it felt last week to give Joey Ortiz the player of the game because of the way he had been swinging the bat. Today feels even better for me personally, for Brandon Woodruff, because it's a guy who is the epitome of a Milwaukee Brewer, right? Could have left, could have went somewhere else and rehabbed on his own. And when he was ready, signed with a team out in LA or New York or somewhere like that. But he decided to stay, wanted to stick it in Milwaukee, has been one of the best pitchers, for the Milwaukee Brewers over the course of the last 6-7 years. Absolutely fantastic today. Not only does he make his first appearance after 683 days, almost 2 years to be exact, he absolutely dominated in this ball game today. To be exact, 6 innings pitched for Brandon Woodruff, 2 hits, just the 1 earned run. It was the solo home run, as we had mentioned there in the 5th inning for Hernandez. 8 strikeouts for Brandon Woodruff, 70 pitches thrown over 6 innings of work. If you're quick at math, you probably already know it's 11.6 on average pitches thrown per inning for Brandon Woodruff. The control was fantastic. And it's great to see for a number of reasons, right? Because you look at the personal aspect of it and the injuries we had seen Brandon Woodruff at the peak of his career. Talked about it on the broadcast, hitting home runs off of Clayton Kershaw in game 1 of the NLCS and being your starter and key moments in the playoffs and being your anchor in the starting rotation year in and year out. And to see a guy just go after injury after injury and setback after setback to make his appearance back on the mound and just look like he never skipped a beat. And the talk was about the velo and understandably so. When you're able to dictate pitches and hitters in the way that Brandon Woodruff was and did today, I could care less about his velo being 2-3 ticks below what we had used to see. It does not matter one bit to me. Brandon Woodruff was absolutely fantastic today, making his first return in 683 days. And it wasn't even at home. Can you imagine what that's going to feel like for Brandon Woodruff when he returns home to American Family Field eventually to get his first start in front of the home crowd? But man, today, Brandon Woodruff, I don't think anybody's going to disagree. On any other day, any other game, I would probably go with Jackson Chourio as your player of the game. Obviously, what he did offensively for the Brewers, batting all 3 runs in a 3-1 win was pivotal for the Milwaukee Brewers to get those runs across the board. Given Brandon Woodruff those 2 early runs in this game when he was clearly going in and out of each one of those innings before Jackson Chourio's 2-run blast and just looked like didn't skip a beat. I mean, didn't look like the guy had been out for almost 2 years. He was absolutely fantastic. I don't think anybody's going to argue about who the player of the game is today in the 3-1 Milwaukee Brewers win. A 6-inning win for Brandon Woodruff. He goes 6 innings, allowing just 2 hits, just that one earned run, and he gets the honors today on the Locked On Brewers postcast as player of the game. As we had mentioned, the bullpen tape, that was the other thing, is you didn't want, it was a tight game, 2-1 for most of this game, at least after the fifth inning, 2-1 until the Brewers scored later in the eighth, but it was 2-1 for a big chunk of this. And I don't know about you, but for me, I'm watching this game and I'm watching Grant Anderson come in, and I'm like, okay, man, don't blow this for Brandon Woodruff. Like, don't blow this because we want to win this game. We have to win this game. You got to take this series against a team that you're better than. And certainly that's what proved to happen. But you didn't want to see the start from Brandon Woodruff go to a no decision or something else, and the Brewers end up losing. You wanted Grant Anderson to come in and hold, and Abner Uribe to come in and hold, and Trevor McGill, and getting guys like Jared Canning a day off, and getting Nick Mears, some rest, and being able to win this game, with only using a couple of guys out of the bullpen. And for them, I was just nervous. I was holding on at the edge of my seat pitch by pitch because I just didn't want it to get blown out. That loss to get swept out from Brandon Woodruff from underneath him in a 2-1 game. The Brewers eventually would extend that lead to 3-1 there in the eighth inning as they go on for the win. 10 games over 500 now. Back are your Milwaukee Brewers at 50-40 on the season. They also even up their road win-loss, 23-23 on the road. Charles, Jacob, Jay, Brian, all lined up on the YouTube chat. We'll get to all of your comments and the things you'll be talking about tomorrow as the Brewers' strength becomes even stronger. We'll talk about it coming up. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? And with Monarch Money, it certainly can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's more than just a budgeting app, too. Believe me, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, and all of your spending in one simple place. One app got everything covered. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. And here's the kicker, 50% off of your first year. 50. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. Once again, monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Behind 6 dominant innings from Brandon Woodruff, making his first appearance on the mound in 683 days. He goes 6 innings of dominant baseball, 8 strikeouts, just the 1 earned run, 2 hits, and the Brewers, as importantly as Brandon Woodruff's health, get the win against the Miami Marlins, take that series from them 2 out of 3, win today 3-1, get 10 games over 500, get ready for a big series, a big test against the Los Angeles Dodgers that will make their way to American Family Field tomorrow. But we got lots more to discuss on this show as the Brewers do win and get back into the win column, back-to-back, not great series from your Brewers. You lose, the series in New York, but you kind of salvage your way on the road trip with 2 out of 3 in Miami. We begin with Nick, our everydayer for the Locked On Brewers postcast. Brandon Woodruff for the win. Go Crew. Obviously, it always feels good to win. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you do it. But today felt even better with Brandon Woodruff being the catalyst for your Milwaukee Brewers because of the things that we had discussed, all the things that he had gone through, and the player he was before the injury. And you didn't want this to be the way Brandon Woodruff, at least when the injury happened, you didn't want that to be the reason, Brandon Woodruff would ride off and that's how his Brewers career would end. But the Brewers stuck with him. Brandon Woodruff stuck with the Brewers. And boy, did it feel really good for him to get out on the mound, and many different reasons for him and the adversity that he had to overcome with the shoulder surgery, as we had mentioned, then the multiple injuries that were stacking up on his rehab assignments. And for him to come in to this game and not only pitch in the game, but completely dominate this game for over 6 innings of work was awesome to see. Green's Farm on YouTube. Woody with a win in his return is a great start in a return. Biggest confidence booster we could hope for. Go Brewers. The Brewers' strength continues to get stronger. We'll discuss that coming up after we get to a lot of your thoughts, your reactions. Jacob on YouTube. Player of the game is Brandon Woodruff. I don't think anybody is going to disagree. I I don't think there's a soul out there that roots for the Milwaukee Brewers that would disagree after 683 days, almost 700 days, almost 2 full years coming out on the mound. I don't care what team you're playing, and throwing 6 innings of near perfect baseball, only 2 hits, the 1 solo home run being the only earned run off of Brandon Woodruff, and striking out 8 batters, when a lot of the conversation was, does Brandon Woodruff have the arm to come back? How is he going to get outs in that major league level? He answered that in the first inning when he struck out 2 out of 3 batters. Charles, part of our everydayers over on YouTube, that was beautiful. Couldn't have expected any better from Woodruff. Way better than any expectations for me personally. Coming into this game, I'm thinking out loud. I'm thinking, okay, give me 4 or 5, hopefully there's no setback in any one of those innings, and just kind of ease your way into it. My hope was, and I know that Cabrera for the Miami Marlins, who, by the way, he was also fantastic today for the Marlins. I know they didn't win. He took the loss. 7 innings for Edward Cabrera for the Marlins, allowing the 2 earned runs, struck out 5 Brewers batters. This is the best stretch in his career. So to get a win in the form that the Brewers did, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, obviously Jackson Chourio with the 2 home run was great. Brandon Woodruff was fantastic, but you only plate 3 runs, you win 3-1. That's a credit to Brandon Woodruff and the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen and the defense as well. But the Brewers leaving 6 guys on base, 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, wasn't a fantastic performance at the plate from your Milwaukee Brewers. But it was beautiful in the manner that Brandon Woodruff returned from your Brewers, and now the strength of this team continues to get stronger. And oh, by the way, come probably post All-Star break, it's going to get even stronger. And we'll talk about that coming up. Landon Uribe made pitching look effortless today. I'm a big fan of Abner Uribe. I think he's one of the best relievers in all of baseball. I mentioned his really good inning today where he had 2 strikeouts in that 1 inning in the 8th inning there, locking him down. No Marlins hitter in that inning looked comfortable whatsoever. He had 7 whiffs in that inning. That's his career high. Just absolutely looked fantastic. Another comment, Uribe, my next jersey dude is a stud. Yeah, he'd be a good one. I mean, I love the energy that Abner Uribe puts out there. I love the celebrations. I love the fist pumping off of the mound. I love that. Give me more of that. Garrett over on YouTube. Woody, Freddie, and Miz is deadly. And don't sleep on Nestor Cortez. That's also, something to kind of take a look at in your rearview mirror. And oh, by the way, don't also forget about Logan Henderson, guys. Logan Henderson, before Miz came up, Logan Henderson, won his first 3 decisions in the major league level. So he's another one. I mean, the Brewers are in a really good spot, from a starting pitching rotation. And I know the bullpen has kind of been head scratching and worrisome as of late. I think a lot of those guys right now, I'm not necessarily worried about Nick Mears. I'm not worried about Jared Canning. I know both of those guys had moments in yesterday's loss that they would like to have back. I'm still not worried about any of them. Grant Anderson has looked fantastic since he's been recalled. You heard me talk about Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill with his 20th save, 2nd in the National League. So it's a roller coaster, yes, at times with Trevor McGill, but I still believe in this bullpen. I really do. DL Hall, as we had seen yesterday, in that lawn relief spot, Aaron Ashby is also part of that. I still firmly believe in this Brewers bullpen. Starting pitching is getting healthy. As long as they can start building out, consistently getting into offensive, performances where they're taking advantage early and often. I wouldn't even say often because of the way the team's built, but just when they have those opportunities, take advantage of them. This team is going to be a really hard out. They are. I mean, they're going to be a hard out. The way that they play, they're tenacious. The Murph ball, as we had talked about, and getting guys on base and allowing guys like Jackson Chourio, that if Christian Yelich doesn't leg out that single in the 3rd inning, and if Pat Murphy doesn't challenge it and they leave that inning and it's 0-0, who knows what could have happened? And that's why it's our turning point. But this is the little things that this team needs to do going forward. And you give guys like Brandon Woodruff, and you give guys like Freddie Peralta and Jacob Mizorowski. Maybe we see Logan Henderson eventually, Freddie Peralta. You give these guys a 2-3 run advantage. I guarantee you're going to win more than you're going to lose. And you're going to win a lot more than you're going to lose. And that proved to be evident today. Brandon Woodruff going 6 strong, 8 strikeouts. Grant Anderson looked great. Abner Uribe looked great. Trevor McGill looked great. This is a Marlins team that's played better baseball, right? Like coming into the Brewers series, they were winners of 8 of their last 10. this was a better, the record's not going to indicate it, but it had been a better Milwaukee Brewers team. RJ over on YouTube saying 6-man rotation ? RJ, that is a fantastic comment, and thank you so much for it, because that's going to get into the things you're going to be talking about tomorrow in a Milwaukee Brewers 3-1 win over the Marlins in Miami.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Freddie Peralta, Jacob Misiorowski, Logan Henderson, Brandon Woodruff, Jose Quintana. Did I say Jacob Misiorowski? Probably. I mean, this team is, Nestor Cortes is on his way back, guys. After the All-Star break, I would imagine, unless there's a setback, hopefully there won't be, we probably see Nestor Cortes. Who's the odd guy out? I don't know. We saw Chad Patrick, right, get optioned to AAA, and I know a lot of people were upset at the lack of run support that Chad Patrick got. Chad Patrick is going to be back, guys. He's going to be back. Chad Patrick is an absolute stud. Keep in mind, in a good chunk of this season, early in May, you were looking at Chad Patrick as being probably your best pitcher, consistently, despite some of the struggles, overall with the offense. Chad Patrick has been lights out. His win-loss record will tell you otherwise. But if you watch Chad Patrick, he'll be back. This team's strength, starting pitching, has increasingly gotten stronger over the last 6 hours, right? When you see Brandon Woodruff roll out on the mound today, that's only going to elevate his confidence in that shoulder, the team's confidence when he steps out on the mound. Nestor Cortes is going to make his way back after the All-Star break. Jose Quintana has been an absolute stud and pro since he's been in Milwaukee. Jacob Misiorowski, his hat is in Cooperstown, guys. Okay. For his first 11 innings as a major leaguer. Logan Henderson won his first 3 starts as a major leaguer. Oh, and by the way, Freddie Peralta, let's not sleep on Freddie with 9 wins before the All-Star break. Their strength has only gotten stronger. I don't know if it's going to go to RJ's comment. I don't know if it's going to go to a 6-man, if they're going to back it into a 5-man, if they're going to play around at the trade deadline with 1 or 2 of these guys. I don't know, but it is a great problem to have if you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan. It's a fantastic problem to have, because let's rewind 2 months ago when we're having this conversation. We're on this postcast show and we're talking about, man, me or you might have to start a game, because Freddie Peralta at one point was your only healthy pitcher on the roster, and all those injuries stacked up really, really quick. Now they're starting to come back to life, right? Come back into the rotation. And oh, by the way, you're 10 games over 500. You're into the wild card. You're a few games out of the National League Central. And at no point in this season have you had your full plethora of players. And now you're beginning to get them back. We'll see what this team does going into the All-Star break, right? Still a week left of baseball. We'll find out in a little bit who's an all-star. You would imagine Sal Frelick should be hearing his name called. Maybe Christian Yelich. We'll see what happens with that. But this team hasn't, and Pat Murphy had talked about it, they haven't really even, all the stars haven't aligned for this team yet, right? Offensively, starting pitching, health-wise, bullpen-wise, a funky schedule in the first half of the year. All those stars haven't aligned, and you're 10 games over 500. So yes, it can be frustrating when you lose a game against the New York Mets that you probably should have won, or the Marlins like we saw on this road trip, each one of those series. But come after the All-Star break, and really you could really just look at maybe tomorrow against the Dodgers, it'd be a real good test for this Brewers team. Not everything's aligned yet, and they're 10 games over 500. If I'm a Dodger fan or New York Met fan, I guess, a Chicago Cubs fan, I don't want any part to do with the Milwaukee Brewers right now. Right now, or potentially in the postseason. Because the way that this team is built, they're built through pitching. They're 10 games over 500, and they're just starting to get healthy. Not even fully there yet. This is a very dangerous ball club, guys. A very, very dangerous ball club. You just hope and pray that health remains intact for Brandon Woodruff and Nestor Cortes and those other guys. And we'll see Jacob Misiorowski this week against Clayton Kershaw. But this is a really, really good team and a great opportunity. The way that Matt Arnold built this team around that starting pitching, that starting rotation, and the bullpen. And I know there's been some question marks at the bullpen. I don't know about you, but I still am. I'm not. My worry meter is not there with the bullpen. It's just not yet. All-Star break coming at a good time for a lot of those guys out in the pen that have been overused. But more importantly, Brandon Woodruff dominated today. The Milwaukee Brewers won 3-1, 10 games over 500. We'll see what the Cubs do tonight. But the stars slowly becoming aligned for your Milwaukee Brewers, as we have mentioned. And they'll pick it up tomorrow against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Show note for tomorrow. I know a lot of you are going to be upset, but there will be no postcast show. My 9-year-old has a double header, so dad duties are going to have to come first. And I will get back behind the mic on Tuesday against, or when the Dodgers take the Milwaukee Brewers, when it's Clayton Kershaw for Jacob Mizorowski. My thanks to each and every one of you for always tuning in. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. Remember, wherever you get podcasts, you can get the Locked On Brewers postcast as well. Apple, Google, Spotify, all those terrific apps, as well as over on YouTube. Just go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, get notified when we go live, and we'll pick things back up Tuesday night after Clayton Kershaw and Jacob Mizorowski meet at American Family Field. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snide. And win, lose, or draw, boy, does it feel good to say it's a win today, and especially behind Brandon Woodruff, 6 innings of ball, and just looked like his old self. But win, lose, or draw, it is always go Brewers. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.